Allora, buongiorno a tutti, è arrivato il momento e naturalmente grazie per essere intervenuti. Tra pochissimi secondi comincia l'incontro stampa per questo film che molti di voi hanno visto a Cannes, qualcuno l'ha visto questa mattina, qualcuno l'ha visto ieri sera. C'era una volta Hollywood, che uscirà in Italia il 18 settembre, quindi non il 19 come qualcuno ha scritto, e io invito, così come mi è stato chiesto, i produttori, gli interpreti e il regista di questo film davvero importante. Ok, adesso arrivano, oppure è cambiata la scaletta, volete che li chiami in ordine del tavolo? Ok, faccio l'appello rispetto al tavolo allora il produttore è David Heyman, l'attrice Margot Robbie, David, il regista Quentin Tarantino, l'altro grande protagonista del film Leonardo DiCaprio, e la produttrice Shannon McIntosh. Ok, allora, come sapete avete tutte le cuffie, chi non ha bisogno delle cuffie naturalmente non le ho prese, ci sarà la traduzione simultanea della conferenza, questo ci dà la possibilità di essere naturalmente più veloci, credo che anche le cuffie degli ospiti siano già tarate naturalmente. Io vorrei cominciare, poi do a voi la parola, ve la darò leggermente più tardi, però naturalmente avrete il tempo, speriamo di poter fare le vostre domande. Io volevo cominciare proprio con i due produttori, Shannon, che ha già lavorato, avrete visto dalle filmografie con Tarantino, e David, che conosciamo perché ha prodotto tra l'altro tutta la saga di Harry Potter, e credo sia la prima volta che lavori con Tarantino, se le informazioni che ho trovato sono corrette. Shannon, produrre un film di Tarantino, ogni volta Quentin ci ha abituato a delle avventure come spettatori diverse, che credo siano anche delle avventure produttive, e questo, da quello che abbiamo visto, che ho visto, è oggettivamente un film molto affascinante, di grande intrattenimento, ma anche molto complesso produttivamente. E allora vorremmo sapere qualcosa sul rapporto produttrice-regista.
Well, it's an amazing journey. Every time he gives you something to read, you get this wonderful large script and you read it and you're ready to go on the next exciting adventure. And it is, you know, he always presents a lot of adventure and fun. And so when you read the script, you're like, how will we do this? And you're trying to hang on every word. And look at all the locations and imagine how you bring it to life and would you serve his vision. But it's a wonderful experience.
Okay. David, tu sei abituato a portare lo spettatore in altre dimensioni, in dimensioni che hanno a che fare con il fantastico, Harry Potter, gli animali fantastici. E qui andiamo in un mondo in cui la realtà e la fantasia, che è risolta in modo davvero straordinario da Tarantino attraverso il cinema e la TV. Chiedo anche a te, no, la cosa che ho chiesto a Shannon, com'è stata questa esperienza da producer?
A privilege is the first word that comes to mind. I've had the fortune to work with some remarkable directors in my career, but this has been a truly unique experience. Quentin is a master filmmaker. He has control over every single aspect of the production. When you read his script, there's such detail, it's like reading a novel. And then, as you see him bring it to life with just this incredible family in front of and behind the camera, his attention to detail, his endless invention, and yet at the same time, the ease and with which he does it, creating an atmosphere of excitement, of possibility, and of inclusivity. He creates through, what many directors create through pain, Quentin creates through pleasure. and it has been one of the greatest experiences of my career.
Ok, mi sembra una definizione magnifica che useremo naturalmente spesso dei registi, no, che appunto possono creare dolore, disagio, invece il piacere che garantisce Tarantino. Leonardo DiCaprio, questa è una delle tue grandi interpretazioni, no? Ieri sera la reazione, io l'ho vista ieri sera, no, con il pubblico, ed è sicuramente una performance, Quentin, che sei d'accordo, che resterà nella storia del cinema. La cosa interessante credo che sia che tu qui interpreti un attore al tramonto. Chissà quanti ne hai incontrati nella tua esperienza di attori. Tu sei uno degli attori fondamentali in questo momento ad Hollywood e non solo ad Hollywood, e questo tuo personaggio, a questo personaggio tu regali la debolezza, la commozione, l'insicurezza. Ci parli un po' di questa sfida di fatto?
I think from the onset, well, first off, Quentin's script was so brilliant, bringing these two characters, a relationship between a stuntman and an actor that are sort of on the outskirts of Hollywood, looking in at a changing culture and a changing industry, and simultaneously trying to survive. But what was so interesting about his approach was that it's a slice of life. It's a couple days. And I think a lot of the original conversations that Quentin and I had was, how do we portray, the soul of a character within a matter of days? And a lot of that had to do with my character working on a TV show that he didn't necessarily want to be working on, feeling like he's the heavy, the sort of punching bag to a new generation of actors, while he's been sort of left behind. And so our creative process was in figuring out those moments, those details that would really, give the audience the sort of pathos of who this man was, and that resulted in a lot of the stuff with the messing up of the lines, the freak out in the trailer, and this sort of whole idea that he, the character might be bipolar, and he's dealing with the anxiety of the fact that he is mortal, and the culture is moving on, and the industry is moving on despite him.
Posso chiederti che effetto ti ha fatto stare dentro dei telefilm, dentro dei modelli di racconto cinematografico che non si fanno più, no? Al di là, immagino, del divertimento e anche forse delle difficoltà se ci sono state, no? Perché finire dentro la serie FBI o dentro la grande fuga, sto dicendo i titoli in italiano, deve essere stata un'esperienza singolare per un attore, no?
Well, I definitely had seen The Great Escape, but one of the privileges of being an actor is being exposed to not only time periods, but subject matters that aren't necessarily in your wheelhouse. And, as you all know, I'm sure, Quentin is a true cinephile. And not just a cinephile, he knows almost equally as much about television and music. So I got to be exposed to an era of 1950s, cowboy television, sort of B and pulp cowboy movies, films that I never would have stopped to go see, but he has this incredible respect for those films, equally as much as all the masterworks that we all, respect. And he's honed in on a lot of different actors to be the influence for this character, from Eddie Burns to Ty Hardin, but there was one actor in particular named Ralph Meeker, and it was amazing to see his respect for an actor that I had never been exposed to, that most people historically might not remember, but going through their sort of filmography and their entire, their entire life's work, and looking at that and with great respect and an investigation into how, somebody like that might be forgotten in time, and that was really I think the basis of creating Rick, that he may not get all the roles he wants, but he still made his cinematic and television contribution. which is something that he may not realize himself.
Senti, ti posso chiedere a che punto pensi di essere della tua storia, della tua carriera, si dice che è sempre una parola molto impegnativa, diciamo della tua strada professionale?
Myself,
Yeah.
personally? To put it, as bluntly as I can, I grew up very young watching films, and I never feel like I will be able to achieve what my heroes have achieved ever. So it's this constant race to try to better myself, to try to work on, better movies, better characters, do as much as I possibly can, because they have done so much, and I'll never feel equal, so that's how I feel.
Dunque un'altra domanda, poi tra poco mi taccio, vi rassicuro. È una domanda che vorrei fare sia due, almeno per Margot, a Quentin e anche a Leonardo. Naturalmente Quentin era poco più che un bambino nel 1969, Margot e Leonardo non erano ancora nati. Lavorando a questo film, forse recuperando a volte su un canale televisivo o al cinema, quello che Hollywood e le televisioni hollywoodiane, non solo hollywoodiane, anche newyorkesi, producevano in quegli anni, vedendole ora, che sensazioni vi fanno? Al di là di qualcuno ha scritto, secondo me, da Cannes, un critico credo britannico, di una nostalgia piena di tenerezza, però al di là, mettiamola da parte per un attimo, vedendo quelle storie ora, adesso, nel 2019, che effetto vi fanno, Margot?
I think in some ways I'm very happy to be working in the era that I'm working in. I feel like so many roles these days, females, are so exciting and kind of groundbreaking, but it's not that didn't exist back then. I think it was, I maybe more shocking back then, but watching films from the 60s, 70s, 50s, there's still so many films I absolutely love, and I know Hollywood's changed a lot, especially in the time period that this film takes place. The shift between 65 and 69 kind of, paved the way for the 70s and all the movies that came then. And I think Hollywood's going through a similar sort of shift, and content was again seeming groundbreaking and exciting. But no, I adore movies from that time period as much as I do now.
Well, some of the movies we talk about, we talk about in this film, I actually saw in '69, or maybe I saw them in 1970 and the lower half of a double feature, because movies could hang around for a year in the theaters back then. So, like in the case of The Wrecking Crew, I saw that. I saw that when it came out when I was 6, and it was actually interesting. I remember. I obviously knew who Dean Martin was, because I was already a fan of Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis movies. And he was just one of the biggest celebrities in the world at that time. Everyone knew who he was, even 6-year-old. I went and saw, my parents took me to see it, and I was completely taken with Sharon Tate in that movie. If you've ever seen the movie, she gives a very funny performance. She plays this kind of klutzy secret agent. And she had a gift as a light comedian that was actually pretty good, and it was even fun watching her kind of execute these pratfalls and execute this kind of slapstick comedy. Well, as a 6-year-old, you love slapstick comedy. That's probably your favorite thing in the world. Right? So to see this cute girl actually just stumble and fall and trip and fall into mud and all, never kind of lose her aplomb, it was completely charming. I was totally taken with her. And the movie actually ends with a great gag at the end that just ends the whole movie. It brought the house down. I'm telling you, I remember sitting at the Garfield Theater in San Gabriel, and it brought the effing house down. And I also did, I think it was part of the inspiration for me writing kind of the scene with Margot. I actually did exactly what Sharon does in the movie. When the film was out, oddly enough, the theater that I was at had a patio similar to the ruin. And so I liked her so much that when me and my parents walked out of the theater, I went to the poster to look to see who that was. And I looked at the lobby cards, and they were the same lobby cards I used. And I'd be like, oh, who was Miss Carlson? You know, and they go, oh, it was Sharon Tate. Oh, okay, cool. You know, she's in Valley of the Dolls. And I've never seen Valley of the Dolls, but I knew of it. Everyone was talking about that movie at that time. And so, now, I think The Wrecking Crew is an asinine movie now. It's really silly. Now, I'm actually a huge fan of the director, Phil Carlson. I just don't like that movie that much. I think it's a little silly. But she's just as charming and just as terrific as she ever was. And I'm also really, as I always felt, but I even like the idea that we showed the clip of the movie in itself. So I like seeing Sharon Tate and Nancy Kwan. I'm a huge Nancy Kwan fan too, to just pop up in the middle of the movie and have a fight scene choreographed by Bruce Lee. I think that's just a really lovely thing.
Leo, posso chiederlo anche a te, appunto, che effetto ti fa vedere quel momento della storia dello spettacolo?
Well, it was fascinating because, you know, you think of 1969 and why this film sort of lands at this specific time period. I started Googling all the cultural things that happened in 69, all the films that came out in 69. Literally is this massive turning point in American history, and certainly American cinema, which I think really paved the way to our heroes, you know, the director-driven era where directors were, you know, it is a director's medium, and they had the power during that time period to make some of the most memorable films ever. So it really is this not only cultural turning point, but cinematic turning point.
Ok, thank you so much. Allora, adesso immagino siano molte domande per Tarantino. Ho visto Gloria, anche Beatrice. Ok. Microfono.
Buongiorno,
Prego, Gloria.
sono Gloria Satta, il Messaggero. Volevo chiedere a Quentin Tarantino, il film ha aperto in America in maniera straordinaria, è stata la più bella apertura dei suoi film. E pensa che c'entri, che il pubblico abbia avvertito la nostalgia per oggi, i giorni d'oggi, per un periodo che non c'è più? C'entra qualcosa la nostalgia per un mondo, per un periodo che non esiste più, oggi è molto diverso? Grazie.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of it's an interesting subject matter. It's different. There's no other movie coming out this year that kind of deals with anything like that, so it has the benefit of being unique. And I think people are really excited to see these actors in the film, but also I think Columbia did a good job selling it. I think it looks like an entertaining movie. It would be a fun way to spend an evening. So, and then the reviews have kind of backed that up to some degree. So, frankly, I think it's the combination of the subject matter, the actors, and I really think Columbia did a good job selling it.
Beatrice, prego.
Sì. Buongiorno, Tarantino, qua, davanti a lei. Qua.
Esatto.
Proprio
Oh, sorry, okay.
Complimenti prima di tutto. È nota la sua passione per un certo cinema italiano, non quello dei Fellini, dei De Sica, solitamente più celebrato, ma quello invece dei B-movie, dei western spaghetti. Ecco, volevo chiederle come nasce questa passione e soprattutto cosa l'affascina di questo cinema, anche se il personaggio di DiCaprio in questo film un po' lo disprezza, no? I western spaghetti, non ne parla, non vorrebbe venire in Italia a farli. Però insomma la sua passione è nota, ecco, cosa le piace in particolare di questo cinema? Grazie.
Well, I'm a fan of genre movies in general, and I'm a fan of I think what you guys refer to in America as B-movie genre films as well. I've always loved the Italians' take on genre, whether it's spaghetti westerns or macaroni combat movies or giallo films or peplums. I don't love the peplums as much as the other stuff, but Italian sex comedies, I love those. And one of the things about, and particularly the spaghetti westerns, is, and I would say the giallos are the same thing, and the policiers are the same thing. They all started off, a lot of the policiers were based, the jumping off point for them was French Connection or Dirty Harry or something. The jumping off point for the spaghetti westerns were particularly a lot of the westerns of the 50s, but American westerns of the 50s. But then the thing is, the Italians reinvented them, and just the idea of taking old genres and reinventing them in a new way, for a new type of audience with a different emphasis. I just love. I mean, I just love. If you can pull it off, I just think it's fantastic. It's a way to have new eyes into a genre, and also, particularly in the case of the spaghetti westerns, those directors, Leone and Corbucci and Soloma and Duccio Tessari and all those guys, you know, almost all of them started off as movie critics and then worked their way into screenwriters and then worked their way into second unit. They were like, you know, they were the guys you hired to deliver the action. And they were absolutely just as passionate and just as in love with cinema as the French New Wave, who started off as critics. And so their complete enthusiasm for the genre is just so just delicious. I don't know another way to say it. But also, the last thing, and to me, it's the thing that makes them Italian, as opposed to just somebody else looking at it a different way. There's a commitment to opera in the way they present it. It's bigger, it's larger than life. And now when you're dealing with the scores of the day, well, that's really highlighted. But I love the operatic quality of it. I like the larger than life, the vague surrealism. When I first discovered, after seeing them the first book I ever read about spaghetti westerns was like around late '79, and it was this book out of England, and it was called Spaghetti Westerns, the Opera of Violence. And I think I've been trying to do the opera of violence my entire career.
Antonello, scusa, posso chiedere io, se mi autorizzate, se poi hai una domanda per Margot, che io avevo un paio di cose, poi c'è anche Fulvio.
Una domanda per
Tarantino? Ok, allora sentiamo e poi volevo chiedere un paio di cose.
Sarò rapidissimo. Volevo fare i miei complimenti a Quentin Tarantino per questo bellissimo film e chiedergli se dopo aver fatto finire un anno e mezzo, dopo aver fatto finire un anno e mezzo prima la seconda guerra mondiale in Inglourious Basterds e aver fatto morire in questo film i veri cattivi, ha una terza riscrittura della storia in programma. Sono bellissime queste storie, peccato che è andata diversamente.
Well, actually, I kind of feel that what you're referring to, I feel this is the third film. I feel Bastards was the first, and Django was the second, and this is the end of that trilogy.
Allora, Fulvia, prima di darti, se hai una domanda per Margot, perché volevo chiedere un paio di curiosità. Margot, una delle tante scene emozionanti del film è quando tu entri al cinema a vedere quel film che in Italia abbiamo tradotto in modo assurdo, Missione compiuta, stop, bacioni, Mattelm. Questa è la creatività del, non so come si possa tradurre, no? È un titolo assurdo. No, è così. Hai ragione. Perché uno può anche non andare al cinema e ride solo.
Well, no, Inglourious Basterds' Italian title is That Damned Armored Train. What the fuck is that about?
Allora, volevo dire, quella scena è una scena molto, molto tenera, molto anche un po' malinconica. Tu sei bravissima in quella scena come nel resto del film, come tutti gli attori, veramente. Quentin, come sempre, ha di fronte un cast importante, riesce, no, ad essere al timone di questa nave in modo sempre molto convincente. Ci racconti un po', ci porti sul set quando avete girato questa scena e le emozioni che hai provato al di là del personaggio?
Well, I think on the day that we were shooting, Quentin told me a story about when a similar thing happened to him, and he went to the Bruin and True Romance was playing, and he, on a whim, kind of thought, well, I wrote the movie, can I go in for free? And it was such a sweet story, and I feel like with a lot of things in this film, there's little memories of Quentin's interwoven throughout, which makes it feel so much more intimate and special and specific. I, of course, wasn't around to remember LA in 1969, but Quentin was, and as soon as I read the script, I felt transported because I was reading from his point of view, what it was like to be there at that time, which made it feel more real and special to me. What they were playing on the radio, what songs were around, what you would drive past in order of what you would see. That level of specificity is such a gift, and beyond that, there was little left to the imagination in just the creation of the world, because Quentin doesn't rely on digital and CGI. It really is all there in front of you, which I have to say, being on sets these days, it doesn't really happen anymore. I mean, it happens to an extent, but only for the, maybe 3 meters in front of you. After that, it's green screen and someone's going to fix it later. I can't tell you what a joy it was, not just to be in that scene in the movie theatre and actually be at the Bruin and know that Quentin had a similar experience there, but to be in Hollywood in 1969, because it felt like I was in Hollywood in 1969 throughout this entire shoot, was one of the greatest joys of my career. I don't know if I'll ever walk onto a set and have that sort of, feel like I'm transported like that ever again.
Thank you. Fulvia, scusatemi,
Buongiorno, Caprara della Stampa, complimenti per questo film magnifico. Volevo chiedere 2 cose: quanto dal suo punto di vista la Hollywood di oggi è diversa da quella di allora, se dovesse dire una cosa in cui è particolarmente cambiata, e poi se lei crede davvero in fondo che il cinema possa mutare la realtà.
To me, cinema is so different from what it was in the 90s when I started. So just even go back to 1969, you don't know where to start. Frankly, I will say, there's so many things. Whenever I'm asked a question that so many things in my mind, I usually just grab the first thing that popped into my mind. And it's a little based on what Margot said, is, back in those, I guess you'd call those the old days, but even in the 90s, and even into the 2000s, people committed to building sets. It wasn't just going to be added later. I mean, like you watch a Cannon movie, or Toby Hooper's Life Force, and it has this magnificent warehouse sets where they create these whole new worlds. I watched, I've never seen it when it came out. I watched Rennie Harlan's Cutthroat Island. And it was a pretty good movie, but in today's world, it's a fantastic movie. They built this entire thing, and this entire village, and they did these incredible carriage action sequences that they just had to commit to doing. There was no CGI involved. I mean, it cost a fortune, and it's all on the screen. And now even the big budget movies don't got time for that bullshit. And I just think something is just terribly lost. And there's something terribly lost as far as on the picture. There's something terribly lost in the movie, and there's a horrible loss when it comes to craftsmanship. And I feel that is a very, very big danger. It's one of my biggest pet peeves about digital filmmaking is not just me being an old fart saying I like film better than digital. It is the fact that there's a tremendous amount of craftsmanship to go to light film and get it to get through the different processes to capture an image in a beautiful way. It's easy to do on digital. It's even easy to do on film if you're just only planning on going to digital, because a video gives you all these latitudes for color timing and everything. If you got somebody like Bob Richardson, you got to capture it so good that when it gets through three duplicating processes, that the film print that is eventually showing in the theater is golden and it's fantastic. Well, a lot of people can't do that. That's what separates the wheat from the chaff. Is the people who know how to take the film print to get it through all the different degradations that what's actually showing on the screen is sparkling and dazzling. And that's a craftsmanship, and it is going away, guys. It is going away. I don't know if cinema can, I don't know if cinema can change history. I think it can influence history.
Allora abbiamo, io vorrei chiedere un'altra cosa a Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo, che responsabilità c'è nel diventare non solo l'attore di riferimento di un regista come Tarantino o come Scorsese o come altri? Che tipo di responsabilità senti ogni volta, al di là della, immagino, della gratificazione di essere scelto?
Boy, I think if I took even the term having responsibility would be too intimidating to even do my job. Responsibility, I mean, quite honestly, I grew up a fan of movies and cinema. I grew up, and every young actor that speaks to me about wanting to be a part of this industry, whether they want to be a director or an actor, the first thing I tell them is, go out and watch as many films as you possibly can. Find your heroes, find your influence, create your own identity through, we stand on the shoulders of giants, as they say. And I harken back to that before, but you go back to the 1920s and you look at these, speaking of sets and set pieces, I mean, it was literally the wild, wild west, and from the sheer mass and congregation of people that are coming together to create something new visually, you have this whole wealth of history to look back on. And there's so many different genres and so many different ages in cinema history that have influenced me that I often don't question. My responsibility is more, who do I want to work with that is going to push me further? Well, who's going to be able to put that screenplay that I read and that script, it is a director's medium, and we see a cinema through the director's eyes, and who's going to best be able to take your performance or that screenplay and give that audience that rare feeling of actually being connected with that celluloid that's up on the screen, and that's a rare gift. So it's always been director-driven. It's a director-driven medium for me. So that's what I think.
Thank you. Allora, purtroppo non abbiamo più tempo, poi prendetela con me naturalmente, ma non c'è nessun problema. Come sapete continuano ad avere degli impegni i nostri ospiti, e io vi ringrazio davvero molto perché ci avete regalato un film che, come dicevo all'inizio, sono sicuro resterà nella storia del cinema, e grazie davvero a tutti voi per questo grande lavoro, e ovviamente all the best.
Thank you very much. This is one of the more soulful press conferences I've ever been to.
Passate una buona estate.
Grazie, grazie.
Ah no.